Suppose I know integers but not rational numbers. How can I then construct them? I don't know what a ratio is, so I can try to define it as an ordered pair where the second element is non-zero because I am thinking of it as a denominator. But this is not quite right because I want to think of half and 5 by 10 as the same. So I need to impose an equivalence relation, which I define to be the usual one by cross multiplication. Now, there are a number of things to check. First, that this is indeed an equivalence relation. Next, I should define addition and multiplication on these equivalence classes and check that these operations are well defined. Next, I should check that under these operations, I have now a ring structure. And finally, I should show that every non-zero equivalence class has a multiplicative inverse. All of this is straightforward, but you should do this now because we need to imitate the procedure in a more general situation. Let's go one by one. Reflexivity and symmetry are immediate. I have checked transitivity over here. Note that in the end the middle denominator v has to be cancelled. Now I can denote an equivalence class as usual by a fraction. I have defined addition and multiplication of fractions as usual. Both formulas need product of the denominators. Now I need to check that both of these operations are well defined, which I have done here for multiplication and here for addition. In both cases, I have to reorder several products and also cancel some denominators. After that, I notice that the usual ratios work as 0 and 1. Then I need to check the ring axioms for these fractions. I do that using the ring axioms for integers. Most of them are immediate. For associativity of addition and for distributivity, you have to do a little bit of work. Finally, I check inverses. A fraction is non-zero precisely when the numerator is a non-zero integer. So, the usual formula for reciprocals works and I have verified that Q is a field. Now comes the interesting part. You should check whether all of this can be made to work for an arbitrary commutative ring. If there are any difficulties, think about how one might get around them. It does not work for a general ring because I need to be able to cancel any non-zero common factor and that may not work. However, it does work for any domain D and I get a field called the fraction field of D. Here I have simply replaced every z with d and you should check that everything works just like before. Okay, now it should not come as a surprise that just like our previous constructions, the fraction field construction also has a universal property. This universal property should be about a map involving what is given, namely the domain D, and what we constructed, namely its fraction field. Such a map is not difficult to see, so you should write it down and try to figure out what is so universal about this map. Everything that the universal property says is straightforward to verify. The point is to formulate it right. First, there is a ring homomorphism from D to its fraction field and it is injective. Frequently, I just identify D with its image under this map, just like integers can be regarded as a subring of rational numbers. Formally, I send an element A to the fraction A by 1 and you can check that this works. Next, under this map, every non-zero element goes to a unit because I ensured this by construction. The inverse of u by 1 is 1 by u. Finally, if I have a ring homomorphism from D to some ring that satisfies the same property, namely the image of every non-zero element under the map phi is a unit of the target ring. In that case, I assert that the map phi factors uniquely through the fraction field. In other words, the map phi can be extended to the fraction field uniquely. It may seem like this is a mouthful, but it is saying something quite simple. The map phi tilde extending phi is in fact forced, as I have shown in this calculation over here. So you can follow this, or better still figure it out on your own. It may also be helpful to think of the example of integers and rational numbers. Let's see the ingredients that go into the formula for phi tilde. First, 1 has to go to 1, and this 1 in the fraction field can be written as u by 1 times 1 by u. Using the homomorphism property, I get this formula by remembering that phi tilde has to match phi on elements of D. Using this, I get that phi tilde of 1 by u must be the inverse of phi of u, which is guaranteed to exist by hypothesis. And now the general formula follows by writing a by u as a by 1 times 1 by u. Okay, now that we have the formula, there are a number of checks to do. First, that the formula is even well defined, because remember a by u is really an equivalence class. But this check, along with the fact that phi tilde is a ring homomorphism, all of those work just by using the definition of the fraction field and the definition of operations on that. So you should carry this out on your own. Let's see the main instances for us where fraction fields show up. Start with a field f. Now the polynomial ring over f in one or more variables is a domain, and its fraction field, denoted this way, is called the field of rational functions over f in one or more variables. It consists of expressions of the type polynomial divided by non-zero polynomial. Next, in the universal property, every non-zero element of D must go to a unit. Therefore, this map phi cannot have a kernel and must be injective. Now, if I start with an injective map phi from a domain to a field, then the unit condition is automatically met because any non-zero element of the target is a unit. In this situation, the universal property applies, and in fact, sometimes the universal property is stated only in this situation. Number 3 is a special case of this. Start with the characteristic map from Z to some given field f. If this map is injective, then by number 2, f contains a copy of rational numbers. If the kernel is non-zero, then I know that it must be of the type pz, where p is a prime, and then f contains a copy of fp. So, if the characteristic of a field is 0, it contains a unique copy of q, and otherwise it contains a unique copy of fp. The last one is an interesting and non-trivial application. Start with a domain D and take its fraction field. Now, the polynomial ring in one variable over this field is a PID, and this ring can help in studying polynomials over the original domain D. For example, working over rationals can help in studying factorization of integer polynomials. Here is a theorem where this idea is useful. If D has unique prime factorization, then the polynomial ring over D has the same property. For example, the polynomial ring over integers or over a field in any number of variables has unique prime factorization. We'll soon be able to prove this theorem.